Welcome back to the Mind Body Project. Thanks for taking a little time to join me today. Please welcome my guest. He is from a relatively unknown Canadian bull rider to becoming the PBR's only second director of livestock. At just 22 years of age, my guest filled the blueprints of PBR co-founder and first director of livestock, Cody Lambert. And he now is the chief bull picker for the PBR. Please welcome my guest today, Riley Gagnon. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
or Riley G, or I told him I'd do my best to get his name right. So, thank you, Riley, for taking a little time to join me today. You know, as you kind of mentioned before we started, you know, you say, well, why do you want to, talk to me? But taking a man's position, and it's not really taking it, we're going to get into Cody's different position now, but he had that position for almost 30 years. So to come in and now you're the only ever second director of livestock in the PBR at you're 23, 24 now?
24, yeah.
24, that's a big deal. So we're going to find out how that happens, what kind of stress that is, especially with the PBR now has teams, which is a whole new deal. It's above and beyond just the seasons. So we're going to get into all that. But I kind of want to go back a little bit because you're from Canada.
Yeah,
Alberta.
Yeah.
So how do you live on a ranch as a kid? I mean, how's that?
Yeah, I grew up on a ranch with, around the rodeo lifestyle. My older brother, he was in the time event and he was a calf roper, a bulldogger, and then my sister ran burros and trained plenty of horses. So I was involved with it right from the beginning, but to get into the rough stock side of it, it was more or less a surprise to everybody. They figured I'd grow up roping calves or steer wrestling on that side of it. But
so when you say rough stock, because I may live in the country,
right,
but I'm not a country person. I'm a cityfied country person. So when you say rough stock, what's the difference between the rough stock and if you're a barrel racer or calf roper?
Well, the barrel racer, calf roper, like it's a time event. And the rough stock, we got bronc riding, bareback riding, and bull riding, and I took into the bull riding side of things where it's a judged event, it's an opinion to who comes out on top. Where the time event, it's all on a clock. So as long as you don't break the barrier, you can do all right. But the rough stock, it comes with the name. It's rough, so that played a big toll on what I wanted to do is injuries.
So how do you, I mean, if your siblings are doing the timed events and the other things, then how do you just tell your parents, hey, I want to ride?
Yeah.
So I know, because you don't start out riding bulls when how old were you?
Yeah, I was about 12
years
old.
Steers, or how does that work?
So in Canada, we call it the steer riding, and we ride with two hands, and it's actually Brahma cows. It's the mom to the bulls that become bucking bulls, and so I wasn't allowed to, actually. My parents said no, like there's no way you're not doing it, like we'll buy you a horse or anything like that. They weren't just gonna be like, hey, yeah, let's.
Are you the youngest?
Yeah, I'm the youngest, and they had no knowledge of it. Like out of all the kids, like I say, they were all in the time event, and so for me to branch out there and do that, it wasn't just hard for me, it was hard for them, because if they couldn't sit there and teach me and talk me the ways, it was, all right, here you go. Figure it out, kind of a deal. So
where do you see? Did you see it? I mean, what made you just when you were at the rodeos?
Yeah.
You saw them and thought, man, I can.
Well, yeah. When I'd go the high school rodeos or something when my sister and brother were in high school. So on the weekends, that's where we were, and you'd find me in the buck and shoot end of the arena. I was never too interested on roping calves or anything. I was over there watching them guys get ready. And that's kind of what caught an eye to it. A few younger guys at the time, they're older now, they rodeo in Canada, Wyatt Gleason and Cole Braithwaite. They gave me a vest and some chaps and a rope and said, here, you got the gear to get started now. Now go ahead if you want to, you figure it out. And so of course my parents were still, no, it's not happening. And there was a school that was coming up, a steer riding school. A bull rider that won the Canadians, Tanner Gurlitz, was putting this school on. So I I went away, didn't listen to my parents, and I called in and I entered this school. That's what everyone always.
And so how old were you?
I would have been 12.
So you, without your parents, you just called in and said.
Yeah, they like we had a house phone. Like I didn't even have a cell phone or anything. So I called on the house phone and I got entered up in this steer riding school because that's what everyone was telling me. Well, just if you want to start, get into a school, kind of, they'll show you the right from wrong and get you in the right space of mind because it is something totally different. Not everyone can do it. So yeah, I ended up entering this school and like just a couple. Like I had no way to get there. I didn't drive. I never thought that far, and I had this idea of getting there.
I'm gonna get in.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it work. So it's about 2 days before it starts. I haven't paid, I haven't signed anything. Like I just figured I'd show up and pay them, and nothing. But Tanner ended up calling the number back, and of course it was a house phone. My parents answer, and he goes on to tell him like, hey, like we haven't heard from Riley. We're just wanting to make sure he's still making the school. And of course they're like, what? Like what are you talking about? And then my mom's like, well, he went through this trouble. My dad's like, yeah, like if he wants to do it this bad, we'll let him go there. And my dad was thinking I'd go there and get my head knocked a few times and maybe get roughed up a little bit and say, oh, this just ain't for me. I'll just keep playing hockey. But and then I have another brother that's just a bit older than me, and he has nothing to do with rodeo. He's a mechanic, but he thought this was great. Like he figured he needed to tag along, and he never came to the rodeos with us ever. Like, he didn't care less about any of it. But sure enough, he wants to come see me get on these steers at the time, and this is how little I knew about it. Is when I called in, like I was going to the high school rodeo, so I just figured I'd be riding bulls. So I told him like I wanted to ride bulls, and I'm riding one-handed, and in the steer ride in Canada they start you two-handed. Mm-hmm. But I was skipping that. I was going straight to the bulls. Like
so this is going from the steers to the bulls.
Yeah, like I didn't even get on any steers. Like I just told them on the phone. Like they have never met me. Tanner had no idea who I was. And sure enough, I get there and he sees me. He's like, oh, he's a kid. Like, and luckily enough, getting in with guys like that know right from wrong in the sport, that they ain't there to hurt you. So he helped me out quite a bit there. And of course, it's my first time. And, you get wrecked out a few times, and you figure out if you really want to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I went on for the rest of the year, entering local rodeos and everything, and just slowly getting into the bull riding, and when I was going, they got pro rodeos in Canada for the steer riding, and they bring really good Brahma cows that are bred really well in the bull industry, mm-hmm. And I kind of caught an eye to that right away. 13 years old, 12 years old, I was starting the winnings I'd have. I'd start buying these rodeo cows to start raising bulls. Like that was an idea for me.
So when you buy a rodeo cow, like one that's they roped or something like that, and then
no, like in the steer ride, you'd ride them. We'd actually end up riding them, and they buck like bulls, but they're way smaller.
And then you buy them
and start breeding them to get bucking bulls, and raising bulls out of them. And that's what got me an eye for the bucking bulls. Is like my parents had a ranch, I was able to start bringing these cows there, and it was kind of the same deal as me riding. Like they were saying, no, you're not doing that, and I didn't listen very good, and I just started, getting cows hauled in there and dropped off, and they'd walk outside, and there'd be a new cow there, and they'd just shake my head at me,
and that you paid for, that you
they didn't know nothing about it until they walked out the door and seen it. And maybe they did, they never told me that. And they probably did as parents. They kind of always know what you're up to, but I figured they'd rather me doing that than running around being a wild man. So spend my money in a better place, I suppose. So, but then I got into the bull riding from there. Around that 13, 14, I started getting on big bulls, and that's really not knowing either too. Is my parents didn't really know any better, but they had a really good sense that you probably shouldn't be getting on these big bulls yet. But I wasn't the best listener, and I kept going, and I got plenty of injuries from it. But it worked out good. So when I did finally get to the age where I could start going to these bigger bull ridings, I had a taste for that bull power, and it went good there for a while. But then the injuries did definitely wrap up on me.
So when you start getting on the bigger bulls, how old are you then?
Well, like I started entering pro road. Like you got to be 18 to enter, and as soon as I turned 18, I was planning on going and entering, and I was headed down here to start going to PBRs. And on my way down, I stopped at a buddy's place, and we entered just an open bull ride, and ended up breaking my leg, and I had multiple surgeries on getting it fixed, and then having to come back from that. And just before that, that's going in and coming to Bowie that's where I was coming. Is I had Cody Lambert where I could stay at, and he was kind of taking me under his wing at that time in the bull riding side of things, and I just injury after injury. It just wrapped up.
How old were you when you first came to Bowie? Did you come to Cody's for a academy of bull riding?
Yeah, they had a bull riding academy.
So how old were you then?
I would have been 14.
So, and your parents, coming from Canada.
Yeah.
So your parents, so how do you even hear about Cody and the bull riding academy to come down here and do it when you're in Canada? And how do your parents say yes?
Well, by then they really bought into it. They understood that I was really trying to go summers with it. I was putting a lot of time and effort into it. So they began to really back me on all my decisions on what to do. And my uncle found out about the academy, and it was right before the high school finals. We were going to the high school finals, and he was telling me, and we made sure to get entered up in it, getting around those kind of guys, and like Cody Lambert. Since I was a little kid, I knew who he was, what he's been able to do in the rodeo world, and then afterwards, what he's been able to still bring to the table, not riding, and that's something that I've always looked up to, is what he did in the arena, and then after what he's been able to do, and I knew I wanted to surround myself with those kind of people when I was young. Like that was always my goal, is to be around people that are striving to be elite, is what it really is, and so I made sure I was making that trip there.
I interviewed on the Mind Body Project. I interviewed Cody. He was one of my very first interviews on the show a couple years ago, and I asked him at one of the things. I said, "What makes you successful?" And he told me, he said, "Surround yourself with great people."
Yeah.
And he said, and that sounds like the same thing you want to do, is get around those people that are doing those things, really having some success, and just be a part of that. Because you're right, when you're around that, man, you just find yourself being better and wanting to do better and learning more.
Well, that's huge. Like that's in all areas of life, whether it's a job that you're in, or your family, or just any kind of sports in any levels. You put yourself around people that want to see you do better, and they're pushing themselves to do better. It only betters you because you lose. You're going against someone, and if they're better than you, lose. So it makes you better. And you learn, when you get around someone a bit older than you can learn from their mistakes and take those in the making decisions on your own. But makes a big difference when you have someone like that in your corner.
And so you come down, you're 15, you come to the academy, learn a lot. And
I broke my neck.
While you were there?
Yeah.
At the academy?
Yeah, I got a bull stepped on me, broke my neck, and I flew out of there. And they ended up taking me to Dallas, the trauma center there, and my mom was there and everything, and of course she wasn't enjoying that at all. Like that's hard for any parent to see your kid get hurt, but so yeah, no, it was a bad deal. So I broke a couple bones in my neck, and they strongly said, like, this isn't, bull riding's probably not going to work out for you from this, and after this injury, it's pretty serious when you get into breaking a neck, I didn't listen to them. Like I said, I'm a terrible listener. Someone will tell me something to do something, I don't listen. So, I'm just nodding my head. Like, well, I was in a big old halo when I was old. I busted my nose and my face was all bloody. The helmet cut the back of my head open. Like, it was a bad wreck. And sure enough, I'm at the hospital. They're telling me all this. Like, hey, like, yeah, it's best you be done. Like, this is not like a small injury.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just saying yes. And my mom's all mad.
She's mad at you,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, well, she's just, she's
I
mad,
told you
but
it's
she's
gonna happen.
upset. Yeah,
Yeah.
both, a little bit of both, So, I didn't have any patience with it. I wasn't listening to anybody. I was just, as soon as I knew I was all right, my first mission was, okay, how do I get back? How do I get back stronger?
Mm-hmm.
And how fast can I get back? And so it was a chore. It took months to get back into good shape where you could ride. Well over 8 months till I felt comfortable on being able to take a hit like that and come back from it. So, and through that 8 months, I was having to deal with my parents, reminding them that I'm still going to keep riding bulls when they're just shaking their head at me the whole time. But
So after you get out of the hospital, you go back to Canada. And
yeah, they get me on a plane, and we get back to Canada, and I'm all bust up, bad. Like I had to do diplomas and everything for school. Like, I had to graduate still, and I show up to school, my black eyes, my nose is swollen up, my face is all swollen up. I'm in a neck brace, and everybody there, that they just think you're crazy, right? Like, they don't understand what you're trying to do. So, that was hard. I had to finish school like that, and one of my best friends, Evan Ginther, we missed our exam, like our final exam for school, because he had to come pick me up. I missed the school bus. He drove into town to pick me up, or out to the country. He was from town, and it messed up a lot of stuff, but my goal was to get back, and I came back. My first bull I flew back right to here, and
when you rehabbed and you were ready to ride again, you came back.
Yeah, I came as soon
back
as right to Lambert's. He called me when I got hurt, and he said, come back whenever, and when he called me to come back, I knew that's where I'd make my return, and get things shaping up to where I could really, ideally get on tour when I become 18. Like, I want to exceed really fast, and that's a big, Rome wasn't built overnight. Like, it's a famous saying, and I wish I lived by that in the bull riding, because I was trying to go so fast. And but I got back here just over a year. And first bull back, like everything, it just felt like I didn't miss a step. I was riding really good. Everything was going great. And I obviously wasn't old enough to go to PBR, so I was just entering local bull rides, just open bull rides. Anything I could really get into were
still around
here. And I was going back to Canada, and we have quite a few associations there, so I was coming back and forth. Like, I wasn't even 18 yet, and I was flying back and forth multiple times.
By yourself?
Yeah, no, my parents at this time were, they just gave me the reins, they weren't going to stop me, and they knew they couldn't stop me, so,
And so when you're flying back and forth, you're staying at the Lamberts?
Yeah.
And is he kind of coaching you along the way? And
oh yeah, like he's like when he was working with the bulls, when he was the director of livestock, he was watching a lot of bull riding, and that's what he got to be known for, as a director of livestock. But meanwhile, he was coaching and helping so many riders everywhere, and that's why when the coaching the team deal came up, and he seen a door open to that where he could make a good living doing what he loves to do the most. The picking the bulls and everything with the PBR is great, but his true passion was always to better the riders. He got the bulls where they needed to be, and so when I was coming and going, it was, you didn't want it. It was great, because when you didn't do your job, he was the first to tell you. You know, a lot of people beat around the bush and make excuses for you and bring you down to their level where he's pushing for you to be the best. So, and the only way to be the best is to learn from your failures and make it count on the next one.
And there's a lot that have come out and stayed out there, and they've learned a lot, and they've done really well.
World champions. Yeah, like he's made. I'd put it up against anybody. He's made more world champions than anybody has. You know, he may not promote himself that way and need to tell everybody, but anybody that knows anything, they know a lot of champions, and not just in bull riding, like in every in the Western lifestyle, like in the industry, he's done a lot for a lot of people and getting them to that elite level, and that's just being around them too, you know.
And if you know, some people may not have the opportunity to be around Cody, but you're right, just being around him, it's just a different. Some people might say different vibe, a different feeling. It's just an energy that's not quite like anybody you've experienced before.
Yeah, it's, you know, he expects greatness, but he doesn't expect anything out of anybody else that he doesn't himself already. Like he expects he holds himself to a very high standard to be able to be in front of them guys and be a role model for them guys as his team or for the PBR or for multiple people. To be able to do that, that's the only way you can, is you have to have been there and held yourself to that same standard. And he definitely does that.
And so does he. So like you said, you know, he really doesn't pull any punches. He's going to tell you like it is.
Yeah.
So after you're getting hurt several times, does he come to you and say, "Look, Riley, I don't think it's going to work out for you"?
Well, yeah, you know, in a way, he really has. Like, it was just a roller coaster, up and down. We've gone so close, and that's, you know, he said, and every day we got to make choices, and at that time where I kept getting hurt, and he knew I wasn't just gonna say I've got hurt enough, I'm done, because I wasn't scared to get hurt. Like the hurt and
so getting on a bull thinking I've broken my neck, I've broken legs, it doesn't scare you like?
Well, it doesn't. Anybody that gets on bulls, there's a different feeling to it. Like rather it's scared, nervous, or what it may be. I've always gotten that feeling, but sacrificing the aches and pains for me wasn't the scare. It was when I did get hurt, how long was I out for? I'd go crazy, stare crazy sitting around. So he definitely mentioned, you know, there's a choice you got to make, and you got to be able to make a living and to not just be in the same place. And that's what was so frustrating with me, is we were right on the break of you know, being really good to having to restart from an injury that, you know, could kill some people or could have very well killed me or paralyzed me or whatever. Like there's a high risk to it, and he definitely would remind you of that. And then he knew I always liked the bulls, and I was always involved with the bulls. So when that all came up, I knew I'd been crazy not to take it.
So is that a point where he doesn't say, hey, maybe you should stop, but he came with you the idea of since you did watch the videos of the bulls, you knew the bulls, it came with you that and said, hey, maybe this is a better opportunity for you at this point?
No, because like we had that conversation of me getting hurt really young, and I didn't agree to it, you know, and then the bull riding I was making enough to kind of make a living, but not a living that I wanted, but I was still going. When it came up to me getting the job, we were driving to a bull ride, a PBR event, and we hopped in together, and we stopped at a Crackle Barrel, and his phone was going off, and he was having trouble with bulls, and I just figured, like, that's a dream job. Like, I raise bucking bulls, I'm around bucking bulls all the time, I love bucking bulls just as much as the riding side of it. Like, that was a as having 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of a deal. Is I love the bulls just as much as riding, and so he wasn't getting mad, but he was on the phone, and his phone just wouldn't go off. We couldn't even, like, it just kept ringing. We couldn't even eat. I told him, "Oh, that'd be a dream job, looking at all them bucking bulls all the time, like not thinking anything of saying like don't hate the job because the job's actually really good kind of thing. But when you do it for, at that time it was like 28 years, and he's like, you think you'd really like to do it?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, that's good to know because we've grown to be really good friends by this time." He said, "Because I don't know anybody else that I'd want, like, I don't know anybody that could do it." So, that was kind of the start of it, I'd say. And then as I was getting hurt more at bull riding and I had to sit out, I was bored, so I'd always say, "Oh, I'd look at some videos and help him." And he already knew everything about every bull, so I wasn't doing any help. I was just keeping my own mind busy, and I feel like that's what he knew. Like, I had to stay busy, and so he'd always let me help, never thinking about doing the job. And then this team deal came up, and he got offered the coaching job, and that's when he said, like I want you to be the one to do it. Everyone else got to make their choices, but I feel like you're the one to do it, and you're the only one I have. He knew I had a lot to learn, but he knew my mentality and how I go about things. He knew I could succeed at it, but he just threw me to the wolves, really.
So was there, was there a time that you kind of took the job, he was still in the job, and he kind of on the job training, or was it like he went to coach his team, and then here you go, Riley?
Like I said a little bit, when I was hurt, I'd mess around with it and just, but no, as far as like the team deal, he did a couple global cups, and it's kind of the same format, but it's really not. But the idea of matching bull per bull is a lot the same. But no, it was his last year. I went to the World Finals with him, and did, I followed him around for 2 months on really diving into the job, all the ins and outs. So there was about a 2-month period there when it came to the team deal, he took over that job, and he said, "You're on your own." Like he would always be there if I need to ask him something, if I had any question about anything, he would always answer it. But as far as helping with the job and pointing me in any direction, there was none. It was it's kind of like my parents were, just figure it out. But I may not know much, but what I do know, I trust. I hear Justin McBride say that all the time, and that really hit a spot. What I don't know doesn't matter, because what I do know, I trust, and if I make that work, we'll be all right.
And some people may not know with a PBR, think, well, you're just picking some cows.
No.
But these bulls are scored just like the riders are. These bulls are athletes. I mean, it's like being really a sports a talent scout in sports. I mean, you're trying to pick these bulls are athletes. They're raised to do the thing they're doing.
Yeah.
And their goal is to toss that bull rider.
Yeah.
I mean, and because the ones that are raising bulls, they want them. I mean, they want to. The better bull they are, the more money, because the bulls make money too.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, you're really a talent scout. For me, watch on TV, go to PBR events. Those bulls kind of look the same.
Yeah.
But there's some that are going to do different things, some that aren't going to do as much. And it's picking each week because now the teams. How many rides?
There's 8 teams, so we've got 40 bulls a day. So I got each team gets 5 bulls. I got to match 5 bulls against 5 other bulls. That like you said, when you go to an event, you're sitting there and you look at these bulls all buck and they look all the same. That's my goal. That feels good to hear you say that, because that means every bull rider had a chance. It's every time they nod their head, if they would have done their job, they would have got paid for it, and
like you said, I don't just go find some bulls from anywhere. It's like
That's what the PBR was built on, was the best bulls against the best riders. And the only way we find out who the best rider is to bring the best bulls, and it's a separator to all of them. That's what separates the greats from the mediocre guys, to the bottom guys, to the guy that just shows up and gets lucky and rides one. You know, they won't. If you're on top of the PBR, it's because you are the best. Because out through the year, it's going to test you all year long. Because there's so many bulls. Like, everyone wanted to be a part of it, and they all got invested in it. And they all started raising these bulls. And you know, a bull's prime is from the 4 to 9. Well, a bull rider, they don't even start riding in the PBR until they're 18, right? So the great bulls are going to just keep coming.
And so, like, on a weekend, is it 2 nights for the teams, or is it?
No, it's a 3-night.
It's a 3-night. So you're picking 120 bulls.
Yeah.
Now, is it same bulls, or
Well,
they're all? I'm like, so in a weekend event, is it 40 bulls and they're going to buck 3 times, or is it?
No, so like on a 3-day event with these team deals, I'll bring 95 bulls in the whole weekend, and I'll buck a handful again. And my re-rides, I always have 10 re-ride bulls that I make sure I buck once. So 95 bulls every weekend, and people think that's a lot of bulls, and I'm just shaking my head. Like, I get it, that 95 bulls is a lot, but you know, for one single event, I may look at 300 different bulls that I have to decide which one to take and which one not to take. And that's when conversations get tough. That's when you're having to explain to somebody that has taken this bull and raised them from a calf to all the way up to trying to get them into this level. And they've spent well over 4 years to get them to be able just to send me a video and for me to approve them, for me to say no. Mm-hmm. And you know, that's a hard conversation, because it is hard work. I know how hard it is. I've lived that life, and it is a very high demanding, all day, every day. You got to be, you know, a voice for an animal that ain't all the time gonna give you all. He's not gonna show you what's wrong. He ain't gonna just walk up and tell you. So it's a hard lifestyle being a stock contractor, and
because those bulls are trained for that. I mean, that's what they're raised to do. So with that many, I mean, because you're doing it every week. I mean, the team events is every week, right?
Yeah, it's year. Well, we got 11 events, team events, counting the finals, and then we got to Unleash the Beast, and there's 24 of those. So it's the guys don't get a break, and I don't expect a break if they're not getting a break.
And so how do you go through that many bulls every week to be able to look? How do you look at that many bulls in a week to say, okay, I'm taking this one, this one, this one?
Yeah, well, it's studying them. Like, I spend hours every day. It takes time. Like, you can't just make it. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. And that's been, I have to sit down and I got to go through, and you got to look at them all. Like there'll be a guy that may send you 5 videos, and every week he sends you the same videos, but you always got to check them videos to make sure he didn't send you a new one. That will work. Mm-hmm. And but I don't know. I kind of got a deal from being around him all my life. Is I'm able to, I judge them all, but I can remember them all. Like, and that was like when I was riding. That caused me a lot of troubles. Is you got to ride bulls jump for jump. You can't go where you want them to go, because it's not going to work. And for having this job, that's something that I'm always having to do. Is when I'm matching them, is go through their the most important out is their last out. It's the last time we bucked them, but then I got to go through them all to just figure out all the different outcomes that I could get, and then I try to compare them to the best other bull I got available. But it's memory is a big one. I remember, but I keep notes on every bull. Like, I got, and I got hundreds of videos. I got them all in files, so I just type that bull up. I get all the videos of them. So it's just, but it's really the memory side of it. I watch one, I can remember
remember what he does, how he
bucks. If he's, if he's a more difficult bull for a rider, You know, because like you said earlier, there's a scoring for these bulls, and they score the bulls before the riders. That shows how important it is. That's how you get the rider scores.
Is out of 50 on the bull and the rider, and you.
So 50 for the bull, 50 for the rider.
Yeah, and so when them guys judge it, like if a bull, which is there's 4 judges, so each judge marks up to 25, and they combine the scores. But you get a 22-point bull, and a rider stays on that bull, and he does. If he just rides him for what he is and rides him good, you'll get a point over that bull. So that's a 45. So because it's 23 and 45, you combine the scores. That's a 90-point bull. And you break it down in categories. That's out of 25, so you have 5 categories. You mark them up to 5 of how hard they kick, their difficulty level. Like if a lot of bulls, if they start rolling, it brings in a lot of difficulty. Trying to get away from your intensity, and that's just how hard they're really trying. You can tell with different bulls. Some are slower and some are faster, so you've got to mark them on that. And their buck, that's how hard they drop, and you combine it all together, and that's what you get a score. But it's got to happen now. You have to look at it and know what that bull is, because there's thousands of them, and you got to look at them all.
So then do you take new ones each week, or do you still take some of the same ones from the previous week that really liked and worked? And
it all depends. Like if I got one that's proven, I won't very often do you see me step out and bring another one in. Just definitely during these team deals, because I gotta get it as close as possible. But in the UTVs, when I got a really good set of bulls, I'm able to bring 5 that are newer bulls that have potential to be great. But I can't weigh myself to trying something when I know I got a bull that's proven sitting there. I always take the proven one, because really my job is, like, I gotta look out for the stock contractors, but I gotta look out for the riders. That's who's important, is the riders. If they do their job, they get paid. That's all I think about. I can't ride them for them, but I can give them the opportunity. If they do stay on, they will get paid, and that's a tough deal too, because now all their living is kind of in your hands.
Picking the best bulls.
Yeah.
I mean, so dealing with those stock contractors, I'm sure they're a different breed, so to speak. So, and I'm sure some of them are older. So I'm sure some of them probably grew up with Cody, kind of knew Cody. Cody's, older. Cody's a grandpa now. So how do they handle when you tell them, when Riley tells them, nah, that's not going to work, and at 24 years old, they think this kid is, second year, first year,
Yeah.
So is that something you've had to deal with and kind of prove and say and kind of stand up, and is that hard to do?
Yeah, well, I don't want to say no to anybody. Like, if I could, I'd take everybody's bull, but you're not able to do that. But yeah, being my age, it definitely plays a role in it. But for the majority of the guys that I work with, they've been great, because they've seen right away. They gave me a chance, and then they seen what I was able to do, and the bull's power that I was able to bring to the table, and so. I earned their respect pretty early, but that not everybody sees eye to eye. Like, in what kind of world would we live in if everybody thought the same, right? So, there's discussions I got to have that are uncomfortable for them, because I am 24 years old. But I feel like it's more uncomfortable for them is that they tried to sneak something by me, they couldn't get it by me. And the 24-year-old is the one that's shutting them down. Yeah, I don't think they like that very much. But it took time, like, and going through it for a year, like, I've ran into my fair shares of the old wanting to square up in the back pants kind of deal with them older guys. That's how they did it. And we never got to that ever. But it was definitely... It was a learning for me, because I am younger, but the way that I was brought up is you've been tough, you're hard, you're straightforward, you're honest. You know, when you make a mistake, you admit it. And I, in a year of doing this job, I'll admit it, I've made multiple mistakes, and I'll be the first one to raise my hand and say, you know, I did bring that bull, and I probably shouldn't have brought that bull over another bull, and or you just forget, you know. Like I'm not gonna say I've never forgot someone's bull either. You know, I told them I'd use them, and then you know, come time to the event, you forget. You know, little things like that, and I think that built a lot of respect. Is hey, you guys, you know, I take a step back and say, you know, look at something that I've done, and realize maybe that ain't the way to go about it, because the way Cody Lambert went about it was totally, you know, I'd be fighting everybody every weekend because everyone's terrified of him.
Yeah.
Me, they look at me and they're like, this little baby face kid, I should just slap him upside the head. But for the most part, you know, they wouldn't do that. But
did they ever, when you, like, because well, you're in your second year now.
yeah.
So did they ever, the first year, when you might tell them no or something, do they try to go to Cody and, hey, look, I don't think he knows what he's, you know, I'm trying to get this bull in, he's saying no, and go talk to him?
Yeah, I'm sure. Like I've known they've done a fair share of that, but like, and Cody explained, like he'll explain to him, like, you know, I didn't take it lightly picking who I'd have take over this job for me. So if he's making a decision, I'm gonna back him. And and that was more during the UTVs. When we were in the team deal, Cody, when he quit. Like, them guys would not, if they called him, he'd answer, you know, to see if there was something that they really needed. But when it came to the bulls, like, he did not want he didn't want to be above anybody else, any other coach. Like, he didn't want any other coach to think that he had an advantage in any sort of way, which, coming off of being the stock contractor, like, or director of livestock, you know all them stock contractors, you know all the bulls. So, and he has done it for 30 years, so he is going, no matter what, he's going to have upper hand on him, because he looks at bulls and he sees that stuff that no one else sees. It still blows my mind. I'll show him a video. He'll pick up the littlest thing, and you know, and I'll miss it, and it's taught me a lot to really break down them videos. But yeah, but like now, like a year in, like it's more like now it's the new guys that really haven't gotten involved with the PBR too much in the past, that they don't understand how it all works, and so you're trying to explain it. It's a lot of explaining yourself.
To stock contractors are trying to get their bulls in.
And why they can't, you know, why this weekend, you know, they could only have 4, and last weekend they only had 6. Well, there's more available spots last weekend. Now, you know, I got better bulls this weekend. I cut off the bottom end, but I'm really straightforward with them all, and that even makes them mad too. Like, maybe I don't beat around the bush. I'm like, no, I'm sorry, he's not going to work. And they'll be like, well, why? And I'll be like, well, I got a better bull. Like, I plan out, like, he's not as good as this bull. What do I do? How do I cut some? Like, I'd be wrong someone else by taking their bull off for putting a weaker bull in. So that's just the only way I look at it is. But they've all, like, they're great guys. Like, all of them I've worked with so far, you know, through all of our misunderstandings. Like, we've all went to work and took care of business, and we put a great product out there every weekend. You know, there has not been a weekend yet that we've failed. So it's been, for that side of it, it's been great. But there's definitely the arguments for sure. Right.
And I'm always impressed. Anytime I go watch a PBR event, I always think back when, you know, there's fireworks and there's lights and just all kinds of things. And I think about, I always think about when it started all those years ago, 30 years ago or so, and how it just was basic. Yeah. And how through, like Cody mentioned, surrounding themselves with great people, the PBR just grew and grew and grew. It's a production. New teams have started. it's just grown, and it's grown going back to stock contractors and the bulls. I'm sure back in the early days, Cody had to probably go out and search and find, and there were people knocking down his door.
No.
I mean, he probably couldn't find 20 bulls, much less 95 bulls.
Yeah.
That's probably not something he. It's different. It's something different that you're doing that he didn't really experience.
Well,
with the team, since now there's more, you're riding more, right?
Yeah, like the team deal, like it would definitely, like he would have been able to handle it just fine, but there's more to it. But years ago, like you're saying, he had to go look for him. Like he had to search for him to fill these events and he was able to shape it to where everyone wanted to be a part of it. To be able to he made it so if you had a bull in the PBR, it meant something. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just, we got a bull at the bull riding at the local bull riding. Like if you were going to a PBR, he held it to that caliber that, we do have one of the best bulls in the world. Our program that we went out and built is paying off because we are here. And that's something that, made it so everybody, like, anybody that enjoys competition and putting themselves in the face of it, they really, really went ahead and invested into their own programs to get to a level. And then when it got just over that peak of where he was struggling to get them, and everyone seen how big and great this all is, it took off, and the bulls were everywhere, and it just bettered the events. It just made everything. That's what their goal was. The riders, when they set out, it wasn't a drawing game for them anymore. They always got on bulls that box. Some may be harder than others to ride, but that's for some people it's easy to do squats, and some people it's not so easy. Mm-hmm. But it's the same. It's the best of the best, and he's been able to build it up to everybody.
So whether it's the bull or the rider, it's the best of the best. You're going to bring the best bulls. Events can bring the best riders. Yeah. Just because they don't ride it that night doesn't mean they're best. They're not the best. It just means. And sometimes if a bull, rolls or falls, it doesn't mean that they're not the best. It's just sometimes the athletes, because the bulls are athletes too. They have. Yeah. We're only as good as those 8 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
We could have trained and practiced, but when it comes down to that, we're just as good as that those few seconds. Yeah.
No one ever sees what you do during the week. Like that's a saying everyone knows is, it's the work you put in when the doors are shut. And it's same with the guys are working so hard, but these stock contractors they're getting to these bulls where they're just a whole nother level, and that's just what it takes to get to this level today is a hard work. But that's everything in life. You put hard work in there, you'll get places. As being young, like for me, I put a lot of work into this now, and it's a huge position. So doing it, being 24, a lot of people think that's crazy, but I've been alive for 24 years. Surely I can get pretty good at something in that amount of time. But it's a pretty cool thing to be a part of, and to see it build all the way around to the whole new team, having 2 seasons and running the bulls for both seasons. It's cool to watch it all unfold the way it is.
And like I said, it's putting in the work during the week when you're watching hundreds of videos. Yeah. I never thought about when we went to a team event or an event about all the time that went in to find the bull. I just go watch it and I enjoy it. And I think, oh, that's cool. That was entertaining.
Hey, that's me too, though. That's when I get to get there. It's, I get there and it's like, hey, I get to enjoy what I done all week for the 2 weeks coming into this event. You get to enjoy it, and sometimes it's not as enjoyable because it doesn't play out exactly, the way you thought it may. But when it does, it's one of the best feelings. It gives me the same feeling as when I was riding bulls, and when you stayed home, when you did your job, you've just done it. That satisfaction feeling that no one else helped you do it. No one could reach out and help you. You had to do it yourself. And not very many things in life it is like that anymore. Like you could always, there's always a hand to help you up. And in bull riding, there's not always that hand, especially when you're riding them and when you're picking them and setting these events up, and you get to watch it exactly unfold the way that you planned it to. Oh, that's a good feeling. Like that's why I do it.
That's a good day at work.
Yeah, exactly. But it's to see it like the World Finals, like this year, like the going in there and knowing, the 2 weeks going in, that's a list that gets released. I get that set pretty early in, before about 3 weeks ahead of time. I have a really good idea, so the chatter starts. Everybody's talking
what bulls are going to be there,
what
who's
bulls
going to
are
get
there,
picked.
what's not there, and there's so many people involved, so it's everywhere. I got the social media and everything, but I hardly go on it.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of been that way, and when that finals was rolling around, I released that list and the PBR released it. This was weeks ahead, and you get on the social media and you see people hating it. Saying, well, why is that bull there and this one's not? And it starts making me second guess all your decisions.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you go back and say, I may not know much, but what I do know, I trust, and what I put out there, product I put out there, I feel like them bulls, because the finals are the best of the best. Like all the bulls are available everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and I just trusted what I put together was the rankest set of bulls that I could put together at this day. Do I think could I get a ranker set today? Yeah, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Every day there's always somebody better. There's always something coming up, and but going to the finals, having everyone, seeing all these people hating thinking that I don't know what I'm doing, to just unleashing like these bulls just. Like for Lambert to come up to me and say that's the rankest set of bulls that have ever been anywhere,
mm-hmm.
that means something, because he's the one that's put the rankest set of bulls together for 30 years.
Mm-hmm. So to get that compliment, that's
and I didn't take this job to get a pat on the back from people or to get into a spotlight. Like that wasn't the ideal of it. What it was for me was holding the sport to the same standard as Lambert did, and to be leaving that finals on the last day, knowing them bulls were that stout and every guy had that chance to win a world title. Like the last day, up to 15 guys had a chance to win the world. One round they only rode 3 bulls. Yeah, that is not ideal. I want them guys to stay on.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is what I want. I want to see 90-point bull rides, and they make money, they make a living.
Mm-hmm.
But when people are saying the bulls aren't ranked enough, and you go there and the best guys in the world are struggling, the bulls are pretty ranked.
Mm-hmm.
And going into the world finals, it definitely was a weird world finals coming in there. A lot of guys were beat up. Kaiki, our number 1 guy, was out with a broken leg the last event, and they were around. Like they didn't get much break, so guys were beat up, but no one could say that they didn't have a chance to win because the bulls are not ranked enough. So,
and that's another new thing is really with the team events now and Unleash the Beast. I mean, it's an all year before the team events came along. They had some time to recover
through the summer,
to get a little healthier, to get a little stronger, to rehab whatever they need to. But now, I mean, it's just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, there's just a couple of weeks here and there out of the year that the guys. But that team deal, that's what's so cool about it is the coaches and your GMs and you manage them guys. Like bull riders are dumb. Plain and simple. I rode bulls. Like I'm allowed to say it. Some of them may say that's not nice to say, but that if there's a bull ride and they want to go, like no matter how beat up.
It doesn't matter if they got a broken leg.
Yeah.
As long as it's not their holding hand.
Yeah.
I mean, if the other arm's broken, they're okay. We're gonna.
Oh, you know, so now that they're getting these professional guys from like the older guys that have been there and done that, the coaches, and then now they got the trainers coming in that are able to manage these guys and get them to be from one weekend to the next weekend. They can get beat up pretty hard, but they can have them ready for the next weekend.
So they're getting more support than just being on their own, because really the teams are more like NFL, NBA.
Yeah.
You know, they get salaries. They have, you know, people helping them. They have GMs. They have coaches.
Yeah.
So it's really a good thing for the bull riders to
Yeah.
get picked and be on these teams. And
there's
but they get a lot of support that way too. That carries them from week to week that they weren't getting on their own.
No, not to. It was always kind of there, but no one knew how to go about it maybe the right way. Like Jess Lockwood, that guy knew how to do it. He knew how to get his body ready out through the week to perform at the highest level every weekend and still be able to, if they get beat up or stepped on or any kind of injuries, to 5 days later being able to perform and be the best in the world. Our body can only take so much is for sure the truth. You know, you got to be able to manage it, but you can push your body to a whole nother place if you know how to go about every day getting it to perform. People underestimate it too, but it's our body is something special.
They can do a lot. They can, you know. This is your proof as rehab from a broken neck to broken leg to.
I've had a few surgeries, you know, shoulder surgeries and knees and hips and legs. And I got to get lots fixed. My hands are, you know, and to be able to, you know, do that at 24. Everyone says you're gonna be hurting pretty bad when you're my age. They'd say, talk to an older fella, and you know, and maybe they're right, but I'm not gonna waste my time right now if I'm feeling good to worry about 25 years down the road or whatever it may be. Like, and if I am hurting there, I'll be able to sit in the rocking chair and tell my grandkids all these stories that I got to live. You know, I didn't live a bubble wrap life, but the life I got to live was something special. So, and that's an everyday deal. You got to look at it that way every day. Is you know, you're gonna be able to sit back and say what you set out to do was pretty cool and something that you took a lot of pride in. And in the bull business, that's something you gotta. Right? You can't not do it if you don't have pride. It's high demanding too. It's all day, every day.
You know, I always ask at the end of a show. I always ask my guests on the Mind Body Project. You know, if you're sitting, the days have come, and you're old, and you're sitting on the rocker on the porch, and you look back over your life, and you say it was a successful life. What would that look like? And I think I didn't have to ask that because I think you answered that. You know, in telling your kids, and I love that. I didn't live a bubble wrap life.
Yeah.
I experienced life.
Yeah, that's my big thing is, like I grew up, I had a sister and two other brothers, and I was the youngest, and you know, it was all open doors. Like, you know, they would always kind of support you, but they pushed themselves, and they were able to do really good things in life, and for me to be the youngest, to, you know, watch them all do it, that was a big help for me. But you know, I just bought my first place, a fair bit of land on it, and like I'm not even at my peak yet. Like I still don't feel like I could sit there and say that to my grandkids. Is the thing is, and like my brothers and sisters are the same way. They're never satisfied, and that's where I'm not there yet. But I keep trying to push towards that, where I can sit there one day and get to say, you know, I did what I wanted to do. I mean, maybe I have to say no and not listen to many people and learn my mistakes. 'Cause I made lots, and I'm sure I'm going to make lots more, but I learned from them, and that's the only way to be able to sit back when say you're 80 years old, and the mistakes are what opened doors for you, or just showed you more opportunities, and gave you the life that you had. So,
You know, and I'd like to say, you know, do you see yourself like maybe Cody Lambert and some of those other guys 30 years from now still being in PBR? But, you know, it might be what you would like, but just from the last being 12 years old. In the last 12 years, look how much your life has changed.
yeah.
From getting on some steers to riding some bulls to injuries to coming to Bowie, Texas, you know, where you find Cody Lambert and takes you under his wing. You know, you get hurt, and those hurts or really might have been, you know, a good thing for you.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't put you in this position necessarily if you didn't have those. You know, and life has changed a lot in 12 years. Buying your place, you know, in Texas from Canada. So I mean, that's a lot going on in 12 years.
Yeah, and that is like, and that's the thing is, you know, right now I'm like the bulls. I'm so like it takes up so much of my time, which doesn't even feel like it is because I love it so much that, but I can't. It's like when we're going, who knows? Like I meet people, you talk with people, and there's just so many opportunities out there that you can't ever plan too far ahead. But you know, you work for what is ahead, and not knowing what is ahead. That's like no one knows every day. We don't know what's going to happen 3 hours from now, but. As long as that you're pushing for a better tomorrow, or better now, better yet. 'Cause tomorrow's not promised, so it takes a lot of work.
Yeah,
But that's what it's about. That's what life's about.
Mm-hmm.
No matter if it's picking bulls for the biggest bull rides in the world, or running cars for somebody, or being a truck driver, or police officer, firefighter, like there's just. Bull riding gives you so many different ways to look at everything that you can take into life, not just your bull riding. And it's just a good life to be a part of and to be around these kind of people.
And just sitting there in our conversation, Dave, a couple of things. You know, when you talk about being young and having to deal with stock contracts and all that, you know, you have a lot of great things to offer. For me, just in our conversation, things I'm going to take with me and I'm going to use are don't live a bubble wrap life. I love that. and another thing is, I don't know it all, but what I do know, I trust.
Yeah.
I love that because so many times that's huge, and I've never heard it said like that, and that's so true. Like you said, when you get on social media and you see people question the bulls you put in there, you go, and you start to second guess yourself, and we all do that. When somebody questions us, we start to go. It starts to put doubt in our mind, but
we have to trust ourselves.
We have to trust what we know.
Yeah, like it's one thing when someone else is saying, but there's a little guy on her shoulder every day that you're having a conversation with, and it brings doubt in the and that reminder of, okay, well, you know, what I do know, that's what I trust, and everybody working out, for an example. Like there's a lot of people are scared to step into the gym for the first time because there's so much doubt. And you may go in there and not know nothing. You could run, go get on a treadmill, and trust that you know that's going to help, and then it's going to open the door to something else, to a trainer like yourself. You know, you come in here and you meet you, and it will open a door for knowledge, and rather you got to learn it on your own, or like I say, you meet you, and then a month from now you're hitting your goals that you thought would take a year, and like it's just people limitize, like they just cut themselves short with a lot, and that's just not. I'm just not going to do that. Life is short, so why live it?
And at 12 years old, you didn't know how to pick a PBR bull.
No.
You know how to look at some bulls, some steers,
Yeah.
pick them. And you're right. I love what you said that, you know what you trust what you know, and it might be just getting on a treadmill. And then it leads to other opportunities, just like it led you here to being the director of livestock. And who knows where it's going to lead from there? What conversations you're going to have? Who you be involved be around.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you're exposed to new people all the time.
Yeah.
And you just keep surrounding yourself with great people, learning more, and who knows where that next step will be.
Yeah.
When we work on today, I trust what I know today.
Yeah.
And then it's going to carry me on to tomorrow, and
You
tomorrow
may trust
different.
something totally different.
Yeah.
You know, but what you do trust, you gotta trust it, and you gotta buy in. I got one more real cool story. I gotta say it, 'cause it happened yesterday. I was talking with Cody Lambert, and he laughed when he tried to tell me about it, because he's like, you know what a phone booth is? And I'm like, yes, Cody, I didn't know what a phone booth is. He's like, well, have you ever used one? Then I had to say no, because I never had to. Like, we've always had phones, but he told me the story of a guy that, you know, it's late at night, and he, you know how the phone books are on the chain, and you can't take them out so no one steals them, kind of thing. And there's a street light, and he opens the phone book, and he's got one foot in the door and one out, trying to get the light from, because this is what he thinks he knows, is that's the only light he can get. So he's trying to find a number in this phone book, and this older lady walks by, and she asks him, said, well, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm trying to find this number, but I'm trying to get the street light to shine the light on. And she said, well, why don't you just take both steps in, all the way in, and shut the door, and the light will come on. You know, but he didn't know, and that's everything in life. Like, if you're 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you don't see how great when you jump, take a leap with 2 feet, and it's not a leap, it's a step. Mm-hmm. Every day is a step. Like, and that's the other thing. People think it's, you know, you're climbing mountains. Well, no, you're only taking one step in front of the other. It doesn't happen overnight, but you know, he shut that door, that light came on, he found that number. You know, how simple that may be, that's, you know, everything in life. You take both, you know, don't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. In the gym, you know, I'm the worst for that. Like, I want to go to the gym, I want to be in really good shape, but, you know, so I come for a week, and then, you know, oh, I got this, you know, I got the bull rides coming up, I gotta get this done, I gotta, you know, stuff piles up on you. But if you took a step in with both feet, you'll figure out that it's not that bad. You can still go to the gym and put an hour of your time in and still get everything else done. And you just, that 1 hour, maybe you weren't looking at your phone or whatever it may be that you felt like you didn't have the time to do. But taking both steps in is the biggest thing, and invest in yourself fully. And you'll realize it's not as bad as people think it may be.
And you're right, just taking that one step.
Yeah.
The one step in, 2 feet in, the light comes on.
Yeah, and the rest is history. And,
Mm-hmm.
But so many people are scared of that, because they almost feel like it's going to steal their soul, you know, if they go in there. That's kind of how Lambert explained it to me. And that hit me big time when he said it. And he went ahead and he told some other people that. And, you know, and a lot of people may take loss from it. They may not take anything from it. But it's definitely, you know, hit me in a spot that it shows that it's, if you do whatever you want, like whatever it is, you take both steps in, you can do big things. So.
Mm-hmm. And don't be scared to step in.
Yeah. That's it. And it's everywhere. It's like I said, gym to, you know, business, your family, your friends,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be. It's if you have all the faith and you're 2 feet in, it's all good.
And just take the next step.
Yeah.
Thank you, Riley, for joining me today on the show. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing that with me. I think they'll find out, you know, when we talk, you know, not really sure why I wanted to sit down and visit with you. But I think, just like me, everybody will enjoy the time, enjoy the stories, really the advice, you know, some of the life mantras that you have just at 24. You know, I'm twice your age, and some of those I still haven't figured out. So, you know, I commend you on that, and being open to take, being a sponge and take those things, whether it's from your parents, from just watching your siblings, to being coachable. That's a big thing, because not everybody's coachable.
Nah, that takes a lot.
and to be open up and be willing to be coached.
Yeah.
And that means taking some criticism, and along with everything else. So.
No, I appreciate you having me. You know, it's like I said, yeah, we were talking. So I don't know what you want to talk to me about, but the little I got to share and tell, you know, I hope someone takes something from it, rather it's one thing or a lot. So.
And I agree. I think it's just like the story Cody told you. Some will take something from it, some will take nothing from it.
Yeah.
But it gives them the opportunity. Just like, you know, it's up to the rider to stay on that bull.
Yeah,
It's all on him.
exactly.
It's all up to the listener with what they do with it.
It's a big old circle of life, really. What it is. So.
Yep. If they wanna hang on and do what they can with it, they can win big.
Yeah, make a living.
Yep, make a living. So thank you, Riley. I appreciate you spending your time in your busy schedule during the team season and picking all those bulls. I appreciate you taking some time and coming down here and visit with me. So I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you to each of you for stopping by and visiting with me down the Mind Body Project. And this time my wife came every night before I go to bed. It's Bottom of the Night, Double A, out.